All My Friends by Yvonne Norris of Shoalhaven Heads, 2535. Narrated by Janine Penfold. I recently met a lady from Finland. Her name is Marjatta, and I know we are going to become firm friends. Her entry into my life has prompted me to reminisce about people I have met from other countries during my long lifetime. My first encounter with someone from another country was when I was a little girl, just after the end of World War II. She was a new friend of my mother's, and she came from a faraway place called the United Kingdom. I didn't understand why she lived in a tin shed when we lived in a big brick house, until later, when I learned that she was a migrant and lived temporarily in a Nissen hut in an immigration camp. Soon after, at school one day, the teacher introduced my class to a new girl and said that her name was Maria and that she came from a place called Italy and couldn't speak English. As children, we were all agog at first to see a little girl who had darker skin than us and couldn't speak English, but we welcomed her, and soon she became just one of us. Two Maori sisters from New Zealand, April and Monica, were the next two new girls to arrive in my class, and they were darker skinned too, but spoke English, even though they sounded a little different. We were being taught that children and their parents came not just from where we lived, but from all parts of the world. I remember too that there was an Indian man who had a market garden near where my grandma lived, and when I stayed with her while my mother went to hospital to have my baby brother, he knocked on her door one day selling rhubarb. And I must have been cheeky, because he said he would tie me up with rhubarb string if I wasn't a good girl. I was always frightened of him thereafter, but I am sure Grandma knew he was joking. However, a big, loud Greek man called Con had purchased the local fruit shop, and I liked him very much because one day he gave me a big, shiny green apple. Also, at around the same time, one of my aunties married a Frenchman. I was intimidated by him as he was a tall man with black hair and dark eyes, and in a booming voice used a lot of words that I didn't understand. I was disappointed one day to learn that I had said no to his offer of a sucette, only to learn that he had been offering me a lollipop. As I grew, more and more often, I was meeting people from other faraway places. I had never been to a restaurant before, but one Saturday night, my parents took my little brother and me to a Chinese restaurant. I had never been anywhere like that before, so was awed by all the lanterns hanging from the ceiling and a gold statue of a cat that was sitting on the counter waving one arm. The people working there looked different too, as they all had black hair and brown eyes, and they were not tall like Mum and Dad. But I thought that they were very nice anyway, and the fried rice tasted really good. Not gluggy like Mum used to make. The world was constantly changing, and soon I was old enough to leave school and go to work, and understand by then that Australia was a young country and still had a small population but needed to grow. To do this, we needed lots of people, including tradesmen, factory and office workers, and people from all the professions to migrate here to help us and to work and make a new life for themselves and their families. Soon, emigrants from all over the world jumped at the opportunity to come and live in the lucky country. So, when I got my first job in an office, some of the girls I worked with came from England and impressed me greatly by saying that they had seen our king in person at Buckingham Palace in London. Another girl came from Holland. Her name was Annika, and she had blue eyes and fair hair and was very pretty. She talked about many different things like windmills, dikes, and wooden shoes she called clogs, and she became one of my very best friends. Many more years have passed now, and millions of people from war-torn and other countries all over the world have migrated here. The ones that I have met and have formed the patchwork of my life have taught me and learned from me. They are like a beautiful bunch of blossoms, all the same, yet different. And I salute them all. The end.